You ever just drive? I mean, really drive. The kind of driving where your hands are stiff, your eyes are gritty, and you're running on nothing but stale coffee and the memory of your own pillow. I just finished a 700-mile haul from an industrial welding job in Boise. It's 1 a.m. All I'm thinking about is my cabin. My Uncle Silas's cabin on the bluffs over the Columbia River. I just want to crack a beer, stand on the porch and listen to the barges go by. So picture this. I pull onto my own gravel driveway, a driveway I've used for 40 years. And I'm blinded. Red and blue lights flashing, cutting up the pine trees. There's a county sheriff's car parked right by my workshop. My first thought, Frank, my old neighbor. Did he fall? Is he okay? I put the truck in park, and before I can even unbuckle, a spotlight hits my face. A voice comes over the loudspeaker. Sir! Step out of the vehicle with your hands visible! I mean, what the hell? I step out, hands up. Officer, I say, this is my place. I'm Nate. That's when she steps out from behind the squad car. Diane. She's the unofficial queen of the River's Edge Enclave, this new crop of glass and steel boxes that popped up next door, full of Bay Area money and people who think rustic is a setting on their smart fridge. She's got this little smirk, the kind that makes you want to check your wallet. Officer, she says, her voice all smooth and concerned, this is the man I told you about. He abandoned the property months ago. We've been managing it in his absence. I'm just standing there, my brain trying to catch up. Abandoned? I've been gone 3 weeks for a job. Ma'am, I just talked to him. The young cop starts, but he's cut off. The cabin door opens, and a woman I have never seen in my life steps out onto my porch. She's maybe 30, blonde, wearing yoga pants that cost more than my truck payment. And she's holding my Uncle Silas's old welding helmet, the one he wore building ships in the 70s. She's holding it like a prop. Oh, thank God you're here, she says, running over to the cop. This man, he's been harassing me. He keeps showing up, claiming he owns the place. I'm the legal tenant. The cop looks at me. I look at him. I look at Diane, who's just radiating pure, uncut smugness. And I realize I am 2 seconds away from being arrested for breaking into my own home. Let me back up. This place, it wasn't just my place. It was Silas's. My uncle was a logger, a welder, a mean son of a gun who built this entire A-frame cabin with his own hands in 1974. He left it to me. It's not much, just 2 bedrooms, a big stone fireplace, and the workshop. The workshop is a big, rusty, beautiful Quonset hut. It's where I do my metal art, where I build the gates and sculptures that actually pay the bills. It's my sanctuary. It was until the Enclave showed up. They bought the old pasture next door and started building these sterile cubes, all glass, all sharp angles, and their leader, Diane, decided my workshop, my rusty, functioning, paid-for workshop, was an eyesore. Nate, she'd said to me over the fence, her Rivian gleaming in her driveway. We're all trying to maintain a certain aesthetic. Your structure isn't in compliance. Ma'am, I told her, as politely as I could, this shed was here before your zip code. It's not going anywhere. That's when the war started. It was little things at first. Anonymous calls to the county about my septic. Fines for unpermitted commercial activity, which is what she called me welding. I ignored most of it. I had to work. That big job in Boise was going to pay my property taxes for the next 2 years. So yeah, I was gone 3 weeks, and now I'm standing in my driveway, sleep-deprived and furious, while this stranger, this squatter, is telling the cops I'm the bad guy. Your name? The cop asks the squatter. Chloe, she says, batting her eyelashes. Chloe Martin, I have the lease. Diane manages the property for the owner. She actually produces a piece of paper. A lease with my name forged. At the bottom, I started to laugh. I couldn't help it. It was so insane. Officer, I said, pulling my wallet out slowly. My name is Nathan Hayes. This is my driver's license with this address on it. I've lived here for 20 years. Here are my tax receipts paid in full. And here, I pulled the old metal key from my pocket. Is the key that opens the door she just walked out of? The cop, thankfully, wasn't an idiot. He looked at the lease, then at my ID. He looked at Diane. Ma'am, is your name on this lease? Well, as the property manager, So you're her landlord? Diane sputtered. I'm the HOA president. I wasn't just going to fight a fine. I was going to quiet title. For those of you who don't know, that's not a suggestion. It's a legal atom bomb. It's a lawsuit that says the court is going to draw a line in the sand, and God himself can't move it. I found the meanest, oldest, scariest property lawyer in Oregon. A guy named McCoy who looked like he'd been suing the government over water rights since the Dust Bowl. I laid it all out on his desk. The 1974 map. Henderson's original notes. The fraudulent HOA map. The Sacred River brochure. The petty $200 water bill from Chloe's spa. McCoy just smiled. It was not a nice smile. Mr. Hayes, he said, his voice like gravel, they're not just trying to steal your workshop. They're committing overt fraud. And this is beautiful. The moment we filed the quiet title action, the neighborhood, it exploded. Diane and her lawyer, Kane, they countersued. They hit me with everything. They filed an emergency injunction to have my unsafe and unpermitted workshop demolished immediately. They used Chloe's spa as proof that I was the one running an illegal business. The nerve. It was breathtaking. They tried to paint me as unstable. A hoarder, a reclusive and dangerous man. Diane told the other neighbors I'd threatened her, that my welding was a fire hazard, that I was, not their kind of people, but they made the same mistake twice. They thought they were smarter than the history. The hearing wasn't just a hearing. It was a showdown. Diane showed up in a pearl-white pantsuit, looking like a senator. Her lawyer, Kane, was all polish and $1,000 shoes. He presented this insane PowerPoint full of architectural renderings of what the community common area would look like once my workshop was remediated. Then it was McCoy's turn. He didn't use a PowerPoint. He used an overhead projector. Like from a high school, he put up the 1974 plat map. He put up Henderson's handwritten notes, and then he called his only witness, Frank, my 80-year-old neighbor. Mr. Reynolds, McCoy drawled, were you here in 1974 when Mr. Henderson surveyed this land? I was, Frank said. Helped him carry the chain. Silas paid us in beer and venison. And do you recognize this stone marker? McCoy showed a photo. Yep, that's the old pioneer marker. That's where we started. That's the line. Kane jumped up. Objection. This is hearsay from half a century ago. We are operating on modern GPS-certified data. The judge, a woman who looked like she'd seen it all, just raised an eyebrow. Mr. Kane, she said, her voice ice. In Oregon, the first-in-time survey, the one the original deeds were based on, is the law. GPS doesn't get to rewrite history. And right now, I'm looking at fraud. You could have heard a pin drop. Kane's face. It just froze. Diane looked like she was going to be sick, the judge continued. The court finds in favor of Mr. Hayes. The 1974 survey line stands. Furthermore, given the clear evidence of a fraudulent filing, I am ordering the River's Edge HOA and Mr. Kane's firm to pay Mr. Hayes' legal fees and $50,000 in punitive damages. Diane just wilted. And Mrs. Vaughn, the judge said, looking right at Diane, you have 90 days to remove your garage, your landscaping, and your pool. From Mr. Hayes' property, I walked out of that courthouse. I felt 10 feet tall. I'd won. I'd saved my workshop. I'd saved Silas's legacy. Frank clapped me on the back so hard I nearly fell over. And that should have been the end. That's the happily ever after, right? Here's the thing about justice. It's not clean, Diane. She was ruined. The HOA was bankrupt from the lawsuits and the punitive damages. She'd lost everything. Her neighbors, the ones who had backed her, they were facing massive losses. The whole enclave fell apart. I went back to my cabin. I fired up the welder. For the first time in a year, I felt peace. About 6 months later, I heard the noise. It wasn't Diane's Rivian. It was bigger. It was the beep, beep, beep of a bulldozer. I walked to the edge of my property and looked down. The River's Edge enclave. It was gone. The glass houses, the stupid Zen gardens, all being torn down. The bank had foreclosed on the entire development when the HOA went belly up, and the man who bought the entire parcel, all 40 acres, for pennies on the dollar. Bradford Kane, the lawyer. He hadn't just been working for Diane. He was playing a different game. He used Diane's arrogance. He used my stubbornness. He pitted us against each other, knowing the whole thing would implode, so he could swoop in and pick up the pieces. I stood there on my porch, holding that same beer I'd wanted 6 months ago. I watched them clear the land. My workshop was safe. My property line was secure, and today, right where Diane's infinity pool used to be, they're pouring the foundation for a 4-story, 200-unit luxury apartment complex. I saved my uncle's workshop. I got my justice. But the barge is on the river. I can't hear him anymore. All I hear is construction, so you tell me. I won, right? What is winning when you get your justice, but you lose your peace? What would you have done? Would you have taken the money? Let me know what you think in the comments. Because honestly, some days, I'm just not sure.